All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another gun game live stream. So today, well, first of all, how is everyone doing? So today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working on the UI. So I need to do some UI overhauling. I already did a little bit, which I will show you here in a second. Smashing. Good, good, good. All right, so what should I show? So last night, what I did, not on stream or anything, just by myself, is I created a new passive select screen. So for anyone that's not familiar with the game, first of all, gun game is, I would play it, but I'm kind of in a bad spot. It won't run right now, but gun game is a roguelite where you build your guns out of parts, combine affixes and unique passives to create powerful builds, and you fight through waves of enemies. So that's the game. I should have been prepared to be able to show you, but I can't. And so I created a passive selection screen, which is one of the game mechanics. Player can select a permanent passive. And this is what the screen looks like. All of these cards will each be different passives. And when I click on one, so let's just say I click on this one, it does a little animation and then goes sort of like slides into the inventory, so to speak, right? And I can do that for any card, and it's nice and animated. So previously, I wish I could show you what the passive screen looked like previously, but it was really bad. It wasn't animated at all. It wasn't clear that they were buttons that you could click. So this is much nicer. I still want to do some work on this screen, but anyway, that's what I got done last night. And so in that same vein, what I'm going to be working on today is I've already got the scene set up this morning. This is where you're going to be able to equip your new gun parts. So for anyone that's not familiar with the game, basically at the end of each wave, you're going to be presented with a new gun part. Each gun is composed of 3 different parts. And that gun part, you can either choose to equip it or re-roll it. And you can re-roll up to 3 times. And so basically the gun parts are randomly generated, and you can generate a couple more at the end of each wave. And then you can choose which gun to equip it on. If you don't want to equip it, then you can take gold. So I'm redoing that screen right now. And so we're going to get into that, and then hopefully that doesn't take too long, and then we could potentially work on something else. So, Harami, how do you save state when you switch scene? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm not exactly sure what that means. If you can clarify the question, I'd be happy to answer it for you. Okay, so the basic layout of this scene right here is it's going to show the gun part name at the top. It's going to have 2 tabs on the side. These are going to be your buttons for selecting which gun is currently sort of in context. And then the middle part here is where all the stats will be shown. And of course, you've got your equip and reroll buttons here. Like if you have a pause menu and you want to switch back to the main game. Well, there's a couple ways to do it. You could just fake it by setting the tree to paused and then putting a pause menu over the top of the game. Let's see. So I think this will build. I just don't think it's going to work well if I go to that screen. So, like here's a pause menu, right? I've paused the tree and I've just done an overlay. If I wanted to, I could make this background solid and it would look like I'm at a different scene despite the fact that it's all the same thing, right? So that's one thing you can do. The other thing is if you know that you're going to go immediately back to the scene, you can just remove it from the tree, but hold on to it. So if I wanted to, well, let's do this. So if I wanted to say, like, I have this main node right here, right, which is my main scene. If I wanted to, I could just use code to remove this from the tree and just hold a reference to it and then put it back in the tree when I need it again. And then, of course, you could do something a little bit more in-depth where you could actually save some data to disk and then reload the scene based on what's saved. But, so there's a lot of ways you could do it. If you're just trying to create a pause menu, I'd probably just fake it and just do like an overlay. Seems to be the easiest thing. All right. Hello, Sag Leaf. Welcome. Also, welcome to Sudhan Sibala. I'm sorry, I butchered your name, but welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Sudhan Sibala. All right, so let's get into it. So I've got the layout done. I just need to, well, not done, but I need to hook this all up with code now. So we've got bare bones script. So let's get into some scripting here. So this is essentially going to be a replacement of this screen. So this was the old screen, and this is the new one. So it's a little bit nicer. But I'm basically going to have to copy a lot of what's in here. So, firstly, we want to be able to display the gun, so we need to get that assembled gun stats, just like that. We're probably going to need a ready method, so I'll just stub that out right now. So the wave reward selection screen was using the gun selector here, and it was setting the comparison part resource. Do I have any video where I explain how to flip H the sprite when the mouse moves to the other side? It's actually very simple. So let me go do this real quick. So I've got in here, I've got an update facing method in the player script, and it's just as simple as checking if the mouse X position is less than the player's X position, and then I just set the scale of the visuals to -1. So what I like to do is I like to put everything that's related to the visuals in its own node outside of everything else, because that makes it easier to do specific things to how the player looks without affecting like the scale of hitbox shapes and other things like that. So I have a visuals node here, which is where all of the player visuals are. And then it's as simple as just changing that scale to -1 to flip the player when your mouse is to the left or to the right. Well, flip it when the mouse is to the left and then unflip it when it's to the right. Yeah. Yeah, it should be easily adaptable to GDScript, so. All right. Yeah, so the Gun Explorer. So my previous gun selector had a lot of code in here. Orange title place makes it look more solid. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. All right. Yeah, I don't know exactly how to go about doing this. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is update these previews here. So let's tackle those. So this little tab right here, this will render your current gun. So let's make that work for the player. So on ready, what we're probably going to want to do is have some sort of like void update gun slot or something like that. And player gun manager gun slot. And the slots are either left or right, basically. So on ready, what I'm going to do is call update gun slot. Left and right. This is going to change for sure, but what we're going to do is we're going to say this.getPlayer gun manager.get gun part resources. So we're going to say var parts is equal to that, and we need to pass the slot in there. Okay, and we need to grab a reference to the assembled gun rect. And this is going to be the left assembled gun rect, and then this is going to be the right assembled gun rect. All right, and then in here, do I want to do that? Yeah, that's fine. So if slot is equal to player gun manager slot.left, we're going to say left assembled gun rect, otherwise right assembled gun rect. Cool. And then we should be able to do rect add part resource. I wonder if I should just do like a little nice method in here, add part resources, which will take a... This could probably be an I enumerable. I think that'll work just fine. So then I can pass in basically like any collection that's enumerable. So we're just going to iterate over all of those and call add part resource with it. Cool. And so I should be able to just say add part resources parts right there. And that should update it, no problem. Hello, Archidos. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. So we're updating, we're initializing the guns, and then the other thing we need to do is we have this comparison part resource. So I'm actually probably just going to lift this out of here and slap it on in here. Give it a good old slap right in there. So we're going to need to store the comparison part resource because this is going to be the new part that's coming in. So we need to compare that to the existing guns. Okay, so am I going to need to keep track of the selected gun? I think so. So we'll say selected slot is equal to, I think it defaults to left, but I'm just gonna, I'm never sure with enum, so we'll just set it explicitly. So what we're gonna want to do here, so when update gun slot is called, it's going to add all the part resources. And then what we want to do is we want to say if is instance valid. Is this gonna work? Comparison part resource. We're going to go ahead and add that as well. Perfect. Hello, Prology. Welcome to the stream. So basically, we're going to reset the gun every time update gun slot is called, and then if we have a comparison part resource, actually, we want to do that and say slot is equal to the selected slot. So we only want to add this part resource if you're, so in this UI here, if I have this one clicked, then I only want this one to show the update. And if I click this one, then we'll reset both and then update the new one. If that makes sense. I mean, it'll make sense the more I get into it here. So set comparison part resource. We're just going to say update gun slot here to, what is it? Selected slot. Should be that simple. But now we need to generate the actual stat comparison, which is actually pretty easy. So what I'm going to do in here is grab this, because that's the same sort of thing that I need. Desired stats. I don't know what that is. Desired stats. Oh, right. Okay, so that's actually, I'm redoing this. So this assembled gun stats right here. This is this box in here that has the bunch of bullet words and stuff. This is actually where your stat numbers are going to be. And so I need to grab that. Oh, I already have it. Okay. Cool. So let me think about this logic for a second here. So if is instance valid, comparison part resource and slot equals selected slot. Right, okay. So let's actually take this. So we want to only do something if this is the selected slot. And maybe this should be... I wonder if this should just be a different method. I don't care. I'm just going to put it. I'm just going to put it in here. It's fine. Will not be clean just yet. We will, we'll clean it up later. So I want to say if the instance is valid comparison part resource, I'm going to add it. But we're going to want to set a root stats. So these are the stats prior to the part being added. And the way that we get that is we can just do rect assembled gun get gun stats. And I don't believe we need to duplicate that, so that's fine. So we got our gun stats. And let me just look at this. So desired stats generate stats labeled. Okay, yeah. So we're going to grab the stats again after we've added the new part, and this is how we compare two different stats to each other. So this is how we generate the differences in the label. So in order for me to see, hey, did this damage go down or up, or did I get a new affix, or did the affix get removed, I need a snapshot of the stats as they exist, and then a snapshot of the stats after the change is made, and then I can generate a comparison from that. And so this is what I'm doing here. And so I can say my assembled gun stats generate stat labels. I believe that's what it's called. Yeah. So we're going to call generate stat labels. Actually, we could probably make this easier. I can say var compare stats. We're going to set that to null initially and then reassign it here if we have a comparison part resource. And then in here, we can just call generate stat labels with, this root stats, and then also the compare stats. And I believe that should basically handle that. So this, that was basically this block of code rewritten. All right. Now we're probably almost to the stage where I can actually test this. So let's go to this wave reward selection screen. So this is the larger, oops, getting lost reward selection screen. Okay. So this is actually the screen that's going to be shown. And there's going to be more stuff here, but for now it's just this gun explorer. So let's go ahead and grab a reference to that gun explorer. And we're going to want to make that access unique. And just disregard all the commented stuff. This is work in progress. So when we call set part, which is being called by a different script, it's being called by the wave rewards manager here. So here's a tip for you when you're dealing with UI in Godot. And I think just generally, you should always separate your data from the UI. If you find that your UI is like trying to keep track of like game state, that's probably a bad scenario. So what I usually do is I have all of my logic and my data controlled by a different class. So this is my rewards class. This is what's in charge of generating all the gun parts and the passives and stuff like that. And to be honest, this is probably doing too many things, and then I just take the data that I'm generating here and I pass it into the UI. So the UI is purely for the display of data. It doesn't handle any of the logic, right? And that's just a nice way to separate out your code. And it makes it easier to refactor UI because I basically just have sort of this like public, set of functions that any script can call, and I can just rewrite these however I want without changing anywhere else in the code. So very nice. Does access unique determine the multiple thread access to the node? I don't believe so. All this does is it just makes it so this access seen as unique name. This just makes it so that you don't have to type obscenely long node paths. So like in here, right? This assembled gun stats right here, I have this marked as unique. If I copy this path, copy node path, and if I put that in here, look at how long that path is. And of course, if I make even a slight change to this structure, like I move the assembled gun stats up and it becomes like this, well, anywhere that I've hard-coded this path, I now need to update in my code, right? But when it's unique, you can simply just use a %. So I can say get node like this. And so as long as it's marked as unique, it will be found anywhere it is in the scene. And the way I'm using it is I have a repository for C#, which I can actually show you because it's open source. So I have this NuGet package, Godot Utilities, which is a nice set of tools for you in C#. But the big thing that you can do with this is, if I can figure out what I'm doing, is you can use this node attribute and it will automatically connect the name that you provide here with a node in the scene. And if it can't find it, it does a fallback check for unique node names. So that's the reason why I'm able to write node. Actually, this is probably not a good spot. So I can write node assembled gun stats, and you notice how I'm not providing any path whatsoever. There's no path here because this attribute is able to figure it out sort of intelligently that I'm referring to this unique assembled gun stats right here. So anyway, that was a brief tangent, but if you're using C#, feel free to go and grab Godot Utilities from my GitHub. Okay. So in here, when we call set part gun explorer, we're going to call set part resource part. So we're basically just passing that part into here and calling update. And we may actually be able to test that now just to make sure that it's working. I'm just going to make sure that this is not going to break at all. Comment out stuff that I don't need. I mean, it's not going to work correctly, but as long as it doesn't crash, should be fine. So let's see if this is going to work. You use GDScript. At work, I'm a Java dev, so I'm slowly breaking to try that. Yeah. I like using C# with Godot. I like using C# just generally. GDScript is perfectly capable, and I've done projects in GDScript before, particularly when GDScript is a lot easier to use when you're working with somebody else. I've done a couple of game jams with a friend of mine, and we always encountered headaches just making sure that C# was configured correctly on his machine. So when we work together, I use GDScript just because he can just pull the code down and run it. There's no, all he needs is Godot, right? So, but when I'm doing development by myself, I like to do C# a little bit better. Okay, so it crashed. Why did it crash? Line 46. It doesn't like the reroll button despite the fact that it's right here. Oh. It's looking for a reroll button in this scene. So I'm actually not sure where I want to put the reroll button. I'm kind of wary of putting it in this new gun explorer that I'm building. Like, I don't know if I should actually put it in this scene, or if this scene should just be this view with the tabs, and then have like an API that everything can connect to. Probably will end up splitting those up. I think it would be good to center skill description in its box. Are you talking about this here? Or the passives, or are you talking about the passive select screen? I think I understand what you're saying. The problem is that if these are varying lengths, it might look a little odd. So if I do this, I do realize that it looks kind of odd right now, which is why I said there's more work to be done, but here, so if I say, well, let's just shrink it center. So if I do that, I don't know, that looks kind of weird as well. Or if I say, well, I'm not going to center that, I'll just center the text here. I think that looks kind of weird as well. Like, there's no good way to do it. And I don't want to make the cards different heights either, because I want them to all be the same, because they're cards, right? Like, cards are the same height. So it's a little bit tricky. I don't exactly know how to fix that. And there's going to be descriptions of varying lengths here. And perhaps I can just fix it by writing more description, right? So I could just make it a little bit more verbose to fill up some of the space. Alternatively, I could make the cards smaller, right? I guess there's nothing preventing me from doing that. Yeah, thanks for the suggestion. Yeah, I did play around with that. It's just kind of awkward, so I need to figure out what exactly I'm going to do with that, because I agree it doesn't look perfect, right? So I'm going to have to work on that, but yeah, we'll get this screen done, and then I'll revisit that. What was I? Okay, so I think I should be able to run this now because I handled the crash. You like the new sniper weapon, by the way? Big old sniper rifle. I was exploring making some of the guns just like absolutely massive. And so I think this one is sort of an example of that. It crashed again. Did I not fix the issue? Ah. Yep, okay, so this part name label, I need to grab a reference to that. Node, private label. And then when I set the comparison resource, I need to set that to the display name of the part that's coming in. All right, now it should work. Rifle reminds me of Starship Troopers. I have not actually seen that movie. Or is it a movie or is it a TV show? Wow, I am just getting crash after crash. I must not be that good of a developer. Oh, because I forgot to actually remove the problematic code. Okay, it should work now. That's a movie about giant space bugs. I could add some giant space bugs to this game. Okay, so look, here we go. So you can actually see that this is working now. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So what we have in here is we've got all the stats, right? We've got the name of the part that's coming in. We've got all the stats here. It shows the difference between them. And then it actually shows what the part looks like on the gun in the tab. So we've got a banana receiver with sniper barrel and sniper magazine, which is really goofy and I love it. And then we've got the affixes down here. And I can click reroll, which doesn't do anything, but that would generate a new part and then show me some new stats. So this is looking really nice, actually. I'm really happy with how this works. Shout out to my friend. He is a professional UX designer, and he gave me a bunch of ideas for how to lay out this flow better, and I think it's working really well. So, yeah, the duality of I'm trash at programming versus I'm amazing before and after solving an issue. Yeah, the things that are one of my favorite moments in programming is when you spend like a half hour writing some code without running the game once, and then you run it and it works, and your immediate thought is not awesome, it works, I'm really good at this. Your immediate thought is, what did I miss? Right? Like, I must have did something wrong. There's no way that this is working correctly. I'm always super I actually like when things don't work the first time, because that's what I'm expecting. And when that doesn't happen, it's like, what did I mess up? So, okay, so what's the next step here? So obviously we need to make these buttons clickable, and we need to do the reroll. I don't think that I'm going to do... I don't think I'm going to do the buttons as part of this scene. I think it would be better if I took this and put it in here, and we'll fix that later. But yeah, I think that this should just be a narrowly tailored screen that's only for the purpose of swapping between guns, and then I can attach any extra functionality I need to it in other scenes, right? There's around 5 I'm a genius moments per day. All right, so I'm just trying to figure out what the next logical step is here. I think the next logical step is to make these clickable, which is actually going to require some new art as well. I think that makes sense to make those clickable. Now, the tricky part is that I've implemented these tabs just as panel containers, and I'm wondering if they should actually be buttons instead. They probably ought to be buttons, but I'm gonna have to build a special button anyway. So yeah, I might as well make them buttons, right? So they can have hover states and whatnot. I'm just thinking, so what I want to do as well is I want to slightly like dim the... So if I go to my visibility here, I want to just slightly dim the other tab that's not selected. So it's just obvious like which one is highlighted. But I don't know how that's going to work with like button hover states. I guess I'm going to have to manually set the modulate to something not dark when I hover it. These are all solvable problems. I don't know why I'm like procrastinating here, but we'll get it done. How do you make this UI images? They look so good. Well, lots of trial and error. Do I have a screenshot of what the old... I don't know. I don't have a screenshot on hand of what the old stuff looked like. Oh, I do. No, I don't. But it was trial and error. Like, this didn't... First of all, thank you for the for the compliment, but this didn't look like this initially. Like, it was so much uglier and I didn't like it. And the reason why I'm redoing the UI on this stream and why I was working on it yesterday is because I hated the UI so much that I was like, I have to do something about this. So I consulted with a friend who's actually experienced in this stuff. He gave me a lot of great suggestions, and I just spent hours like playing with the color. He gave me the idea of doing a banner, and so I was like, okay, yeah, we'll add a big yellow banner. I think what I've discovered, and take this with a grain of salt because I'm still learning all this, but I think the key when you're doing UI is like, try to use not a lot of colors, but a couple of different colors that sort of complement each other. So I'm using purple and orange, which I believe are complementary colors. Again, take it with a grain of salt. But before, my UI was basically just like various shades of this, like this sort of gray blue color and then this gray blue color. But I started implementing like purples, like there's a little purple line here and a purple shadow here. And then I implemented complementary colors, orange for the banner. And once I started introducing those kind of colors, the art started to pop a lot more and started to look a lot better. So I would say if you're working on the UI and just anything generally, like try to throw in complementary colors. Don't use various shades of the same color, like actually use different colors and see what that makes your art look like. It has a tendency to make everything like much more vibrant, much more pleasant to look at. At least that's what I've discovered in my tinkering. So, do I make these in Aseprite? Yes, I'm actually going to go to Aseprite now. So here's all my panels. These are all my art for my entire UI. So buttons, rectangle shapes, and these are all using the 9 slice or the 9 patch method. So that's why they're so small. But yeah, so I've got various panels. So that screen here that you can see is this panel just stretched large, and then the banner, which is also stretched. And that's basically it. And then I've got a couple of things like so this one right here is where the affixes go. So that's right there, this bar down here. And then this one right here, which has a shadow at the top and then a highlight at the bottom, is this container. So this big rectangle inside here, which has the stats. So you can see there's the highlight down here, the white highlight, and then the shadow right here. And I'm putting them all in one texture. I don't typically do this, but for UI elements I do, simply because it's easier to see like what all of the UI looks like together. And if I wanted to change a color across the UI, I can just highlight here and say, I want to make it that color instead. And then I export it, and then I go back, and then it looks ugly, right? But it's just easier because I can change everything in one place. So I need to make some tabs. So I think what I'm going to do for the tabs is I'm just going to basically copy this, but then strip it down a little bit, because I actually need this. I need this to not have an outline on the side so that it can overlay and look like it's part of the UI or coming out of it, you know what I mean? I wonder if I should make it more rounded too. I think rounded looks nice. I wonder if that should be a highlight instead. I should stop zooming out like that. I need to get in the habit of looking at the preview. It's not super efficient to be doing this the whole time. Okay. I think that's probably fine. I don't think I want to add a shadow like that. Okay, my scroll wheel is messy. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, I probably don't want to do a shadow or an outline like that. Yeah, no. I think that's probably good. We'll see what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this down so I don't have so much space. Oops. New devlog will be coming within the next week too, so keep an eye out for that. It's been a long time since I've done a longer form devlog. So I'm gonna do a shorter form devlog within the next week, and then within the week after that, there will be a longer form devlog. So, also, maybe I can ask you all this question. I've been thinking about taking these streams and recording them as well as streaming them, and then cutting them up into like stream recap videos. But I don't know. What do you all think about that? I don't want it to seem like it's low effort content, but at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff that happens in the streams, and so I wonder if that would be valuable to cut up into a video and put on the channel. That would be fun. Cool. Sounds good. Is actually good for the channel. Cool. Well, I'm not recording right now, so I will, I'll do that for the next stream. You'd really love that? Cool, Tom, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the feedback. Quite a lot of work to do that. I mean, it can be. What I was thinking is not exactly doing a lot of fancy editing, but just basically doing jump cuts to the most important parts of it. It would be like a multi-hour long video, but it's pretty easy to just sort of jump around and identify the critical parts. It does take a lot of time, but not as much time as like a proper devlog. Those things take forever. I think the last devlog I did, I spent like 5 hours total on it, which is not a whole lot, but yeah, still a lot. So let's make those tabs. So we're gonna replace these things right here. So I recently learned how to use these alternate theme types, and it's been really helpful. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say tab button add type. So I've created my own type, a tab button, and then I can go here and I can override the base type of button, and I can say where's the overrides? Oh, override all. I can click this button, override all. And so now what I've got is I've got essentially my own button type that I can apply my own styles to. So let's go and do the normal state here, which is the new style box texture. We're going to grab the panel just like that. And I'm going to select this. I wish I could zoom in more on this screen. Godot devs, please. So I'm just selecting this little tab right here. And then I'm gonna put my guides down. Cool. So I've done that, and now watch what happens. So I can change this type to a button. And it starts as the red button because that's what I have, you know, that's what my, that's what my buttons look like. But I can go to the theme here, this theme type variation, and I can change this to my tab button. And so I have button secondary, my default, so my tab button, and that's basically just the collection of styles that I want to apply for this button specifically. So that's how it works. And we'll fill it like that, and then margin container. So what I need to do, so this margin container has a negative margin in the right so that I can shift these elements over, these tabs over. But one thing that I need to do is I need to make it appear on top. And so I think I need to go to this VBox container here and set the visibility to show behind parent. There we go. So see, this is what I was going for. So see now how this just blends into the overall body of this card. It looks like the tab is actually connected to it as one piece. And let me just try something here. Okay. So yeah, if you want to shove things together closer, just be aware that you can use negative separations and negative margins to get things to overlap in the way that you want. I think that's a trick that not many people are aware of. Maybe slide the current card more out than the other, which might be a bit more hidden to indicate which one is active. That's a good idea. I'm going to use different like coloration as well, but I think, yeah, so what you're saying is that might be a little bit difficult with how this all works. But what you're saying is like, see, I can't move it because the containers and how they work. But I know what you're saying, so let me just demonstrate. So yeah, that's not gonna, I do know what you're saying, yeah. I just can't make it happen, at least with this current configuration. I'm gonna think about how I can do that though, because I do like that suggestion. It's just the way that, the tricky part with animating UI, the thing that I was having the most difficulty with when I was doing the passive select screen, is that when you have a UI element that is a child of a container type, so VBox container, margin container, anything like that, Godot will automatically set the position of that child. And so that creates a lot of problems when you're trying to position the UI elements manually with an animation, because Godot wants to step in and like overwrite what you're doing. And so there's a lot of trickery that has to go on to get it to work. So for instance, this passive reward selection screen, everything animates in. There's a very specific type of nesting that I have to like break the positioning that Godot does. And then when I click these cards, they are actually removed from their container. So there's a card container here. When I click one of the cards, all of these are actually moved up to the root and then manually animated so they don't get resized by Godot's margin container or the card container. So I think the big thing is if you're going to try to animate UI elements, you sort of have to work around the container elements all the time. Yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, good thing I wasn't streaming last night because I was enraged, so to speak. Not really, but I was getting very sort of frustrated with with the whole system. Now, why did those both become short? What's going on here? So it says that my button, I guess the buttons don't change their size, do they? Oh, that's a problem. That is a problem. So I need to figure out a way to put this texture in the button and have the button change its size based on that. I would have thought that this would have worked. I may not be able to use this. I might have to do a texture button. Would a texture button fix this? It appears not. Although, yeah, I'm actually not sure. Oh, this is going to be difficult, actually. I'm going to have to figure out how to set this up correctly. I could set a minimum width on these things, but the problem is that the guns vary in size, and so I would ideally want it to change its width based on the size of the gun. Have I added a texture to the texture button? No, not yet. I was mostly just seeing if this is going to be what I want it to be, but I don't think so. Because I want this background, but then I also want it to show the gun, and so I don't think that a texture button is gonna change my it's gonna change what I'm doing here. Turn on expand. So the thing about that is that this container is actually not that big, so there's this margin container here. I suppose I could. So this is what it looks like when it's fully compressed, but I want the button to expand based on this size of this thing, which is not happening. And I don't know why. I guess buttons aren't containers. They don't expand to fit. So I guess what I can do instead is I can create like a, oh my goodness, this is getting very complex. So I can do something like that, which is not ideal. Yeah, Yeah, I could do that in code. I would really like to not do that because I just don't, I don't want to do that, but I might have to. So with this convoluted setup of margin containers, I can do that. You know. Alternatively, do I need a margin container? Yeah, I could do... I'm thinking I might need to do a custom button here. Just because this is, I don't think this is going to work the way that I want it to. So I'll do probably a custom button, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fake it so I can see what it looks like properly. So I'm just going to fake it, so... We'll just fake it like that until I figure out what I'm doing. But that's essentially what I'm trying to do. Cool. All right, so we need different button states now as well. Let me just check something really quick. So I'm going to have it darkened like that, for instance, when it's not selected. I would also like to do what you suggested, which is to shrink that a little bit. I guess the way that I would do that is not make it fill in the horizontal. Oops, wrong one. So change the size flags. That's too short, but you kind of see what I'm saying. So let's create some other states for this. So that's the normal state. Let's do the hover state, which... I guess I could just make it white. Wonder if the outline should change as well. Would that look okay if the outline changed to lighter? I don't even know if pure white's gonna look good. Oh, UI. Very tedious. I think that's right. Why did it crash? Oh, because there's no player here, so... Let me just add a check in here. I try to make all my scenes so that I can run them in a standalone fashion without crashing, which is sometimes easier said than done, because sometimes there are dependencies, but it does help to do that when you're trying to test. Okay, and then the other problem is I need to make these ignore the mouse. Hello, Volvaire, welcome. Welcome, welcome. I think that looks okay. I don't think the outline changing looks good though, so I'm gonna redo that. Yeah, UI's not fun. Alright, I think that looks fine. You're trying to make different bosses with their own wave types. Can you explain what you mean by wave types? Are you talking about like different attack types or... Because yeah, I can definitely give you some pointers there based on what I'm doing. So what happens when I click? I guess it'll just have to be some other kind of color, huh? That's too dark. Maybe we make it like that. And then... I don't know if that's going to look okay, but we'll see. Yeah, so Prology, if you just clear up what you mean by wave types, I will give you some pointers about what I'm doing. I just don't know what you mean exactly by that. Different attacks and appearances on the arena. Rubik's Cube that disassembles its side and attacks you, turns to a snake and tries to chase you on the arena. Well, that sounds cool. I think what I would do is, I think based on what you're saying, you can accomplish it with a state machine. You need to handle different behavior in different stages. Yeah, so what you can do is, so you can use a state machine, which can be applied in stages. So if I look at my Rat King here, this is called a finite state machine. Basically, you just have a bunch of your states that you've defined, and you control entering and leaving those states. So when I am in the state normal for the Rat King, I'm following the player, I'm aiming at the player, I'm updating the facing direction, and then I'm checking a various set of timers. If the timer stopped, then I call like fire if the attack timer stopped. If the arc timer stopped, then I change to my arc attack state, which is a different attack that he does. And then there's another one, which is state attack rapid. And basically, and then you can define what behavior is in each of these states, right? So, freak state machines, all my buddies use if else. Well, your buddies are braver than I. And so you can just define different behaviors in all of these states, like what I'm doing here. If you want to have different stages, what you can do is you can either add each state as a different thing, or you can create, I don't know if you're working in Godot, but if you're working in Godot, you could literally make the different stages of the boss different scenes, so you don't have to do everything together. So you could have the Rubik's Cube scene. When the Rubik's Cube dies or gets to a certain health, you free it from the scene and then add the snake scene, right? It doesn't all have to be the same class. And then each of those different stages can have their own state machines. If you want to keep it all in one scene in one class, then you can use what's called a hierarchical state machine, which is essentially a state machine that controls which state machine that you're using. So you would have like a state machine that represents the Rubik's Cube state, and then you'd have a hierarchical state machine that says, okay, when I'm at this health, use the Rubik's Cube state machine, and then when I'm at this health, use the snake state machine, and so on and so forth, right? So those are probably the ways. I would probably just make them separate scenes though. Yeah, in Unity, you could do the same thing. So make them different prefabs, I believe it's called, and just have a state machine for each of the different stages, basically. Yeah, I think that's the way that I would approach it. Okay, so let's see if my pressed state works now. That's cool, but I think I want to give it a little bit of bounce, and the easiest way to do that is just to move this down. Export, and so now when I click that, it should just sort of clip down a little bit. And then the other thing I can do is I can move this over. Actually, I don't know if that's going to work. Okay, that looks decent. I need to change the clipping here though. Or I don't know what it's called. So give it a little bit of motion when it's clicked. I don't think I like the colors though, so I'm gonna change those. I wonder if I should just make it like, I don't know if this is gonna work, whoops. Make it like orange. Actually, that doesn't look bad at all. Looks kind of awkward that the rectangle isn't moving, but I'm gonna make my own button, I think, so not to worry. You're welcome, Prology. You're welcome. Okay, so I have the buttons now, so I can actually make these work. So in my Gun Explorer, I'm going to need to grab references to that. You dig the orange? Cool, yeah, I do too. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep that. Okay, so we're gonna connect to those. So what I'm basically doing here is I'm going to connect both of those tab buttons to the same handler, I guess. And it's just going to pass an argument, whether it's the left or the right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say my selected slot is equal to slot. And then what I'm going to do is I need to call update gun slot. I need to do it both times. So I need to update the old slot and the new slot. All right, I believe that that is pretty much going to be good. So I wonder if this will actually work if I play the game. See what happens. Okay, I believe, yeah, that's working. So it's not, the tabs aren't working very well, but you can see that when it's the sniper, it puts the banana barrel on the end of it. But when I click this one, the stats update and the banana barrel goes on the shotgun. So I just need to make these tabs behave appropriately, and then it will basically be good to go. It's looking juicy. Thanks. Yeah. I'm looking forward to how this is going. So since I've made a lot of changes, I'm just going to commit that. The animation of the upgrades coming in. Thank you, Buddy Gaming. Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's just go ahead and take a look at it again. So you've got your passives. They're all the same in the test, but then you can just look so much nicer than the old UI. Happy Thanksgiving, Thomas. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Cool. Okay. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to take a quick break and then I will be right back. Got to get some refreshments. So, BRB. All right. Hey, you're plotting a mutiny in here? You gonna you gonna steal my game? Thank you all for waiting and plotting. All right. Very cool to have stream recordings. There's work to do that requires to be in a flow. Yeah. I mean, streaming's fun. I think that's what you mean. Yeah, streaming's fun. It does. I think it does. I mean, and the thing that's valuable having all of you here is that I can bounce ideas off of all of you, and you guys give me really good ideas and help me critique my work, which is something that you don't get when you're working solo, obviously. But I think the trade-off is that, yes, I tend to get more work done when I'm not streaming because I can focus more strongly on the work. But it's all trade-offs, right? It's like, you know, I will stream when I want feedback about what I'm working on, or if I just want to chill and hang. And then if I want to actually just like crank out a lot of work, then I will obviously not stream. So I'm also making an arena shooter of sorts. I'd be super happy if you could give it a look when it's done and give me some feedback. Yeah, we can see about that. We can see about that. Why don't you remind me, because I may not remember. So if it sounds like I'm almost done with the stream, feel free to remind me and we can take a look at it. It's not on itch.io or something. Yeah, and if anyone else in the chat wants to help out Volvaire, please do so. All right, so let's continue on with this. So we've got the tab buttons, so I need to control these now to change the modulation. So I'm going to create a new method here, update tab button. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, what is my selected slot? And I'm going to set the opposite one. So for both buttons, I'm going to set the modulate equals colors.white. So we're just going to reset the modulate for both of them when this happens. And then we're going to say so our deselected tab is equal to selected slot. If that's equal to the left slot, then our deselected tab is going to be the right slot here, and then otherwise it's going to be the left. And then we're going to say the deselected tab dot modulate. Oh, this, yeah, I did this wrong. Whoops. This needs to be the right gun button and the left gun button. So the deselected tab dot modulate, I think what I did was like gray, something like that. And we'll call update tab button here. And then we'll also do this in the ready method. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, so now we've got that. The other thing I need to do is I need to connect to the mouse entered signal. So, because when I hover, obviously I want the modulate to go away. So when I hover over this one, I want that modulate to go away. So it's not gray, but I want it to come back when I'm not hovered. Oh. Did something crash or did I close it? We're gonna just ignore that. Okay. You hit it until it's done. It's called Blob with Glock. That sounds entertaining. Non-unknown, what's up? I'm the best UI Godot guy? Oh, we're in trouble if that's the case. No, I appreciate it though. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Yeah, everyone help out Volver. Yeah, it would be great. We'll get a nice little critique group, like a little indie game book club here. All right, so I need to connect to the enter, to the mouse entered. And actually, I think, do I want to make this all one signal connection? Oh, these tabs are a lot of work. That's fine. I'll just connect to all of them. So this will be mouse exited, mouse exited. Probably should have named those better as well, but too late. Hello, Mitch. What's up? Welcome to the stream. You can call me Bell. Okay, I'll see if I remember that. Yeah, I'm glad that you're finding use out of the Godot export. Super glad that it's being useful. I thought it was broken the other day because I was trying to export this game, a build of this game, and it wasn't working. But it turns out it was an issue with my project, so I was very relieved. That repository is it's got quite a bit of a following. And so anytime something breaks, I become really nervous, I gotta fix it right now. But I'm glad that you're getting a lot of use out of it. I get a lot of use out of it myself. It's perfect for game jams because then you don't need to worry about getting all of your exports set up and worry about did you export the right thing or did you accidentally upload an old build? Just run it in the action and it's always right. Well, mostly always right. Good to know you're using C#. This is rare, but I got a little sad that in 4 and GDScript you can export a node directly instead of a node path. The same is not true for C#. That's interesting. Do you know if that's intended or are they just, is that feature just not built into C# yet? Because I remember the early versions of the Godot 4 beta didn't have C# support, right? Because it was still being finished up. So I wonder if there's still some loose ends there that they need to tie up or if they can't do it for some reason. I guess what would be the problem... So with the current version of Godot 3, in order to reference a custom class, that class has to have the tool attribute attached to it. So if you want to reference a custom class in an editor tool script, the custom class also has to have the tool script. So I wonder if it's a similar limitation. You should report this, but you're lazy. Yeah. I mean, I feel that too. So when we enter the mouse, what we're going to do is we're going to say, I guess what I'm going to have to, Yeah, I think I'm going to have to send over the button as an argument. Or as a binding, rather. I guess it's the same thing. Argument binding. And so in here... So basically what's happening in here is when we enter the tab button with the mouse, we're just going to set the modulate to white because we always want it to be, normal modulate. And then when we leave, we're just going to call update tab button because that will automatically decide which one needs to be set to dimmed. So let's see if that works. Perfect. Look at that. So now you can see that it's dimmed, but when I hover over it, the modulate goes away. Excellent. Cool, that appears to be working just fine. So I need to do something to address the fact that these are just like kind of hacked together. I think I need to make these my own button, or at least I need to set the size of them based on the size of the assembled rectangle here. What happened to screen? Is there something wrong with the screen? Do you know that you can connect a signal? Yeah, so it's going to be using, so signals are going to be using the C# event system, which is nice. That'll be great. It was being stupid for you, okay. Okay, cool. So I think somebody made the suggestion earlier to just change the size of the buttons, and I think I'm going to have to do that based on the assembled gun rectangle here. So when I call update gun slot, I think what I'll do is I'll just say right gun button dot rect size equals new vector 2. Actually, what is giving it the Y height? Oh, is it the center container? Oh, Godot UI is just, it's powerful, but sometimes it's not exactly intuitive. So the button has a minimum size of 20. I think what I'll do is I'll just set the button size. So we'll say rect min size. So I'm just gonna create an array of both of those buttons and then just iterate over them so I don't have to do this twice in a row. So the current min size we'll just grab. Actually, I guess we don't even need that. Well, we'll figure it out. Oh, this isn't even going to be helpful anyway. I thought I was being clever to save some time, but I don't think that's going to work. That's fine. So we're going to say the button rect min size, we're going to say is assembled gun rect dot size. And then we're going to add some padding in both directions. So let's say we're going to add 8 in the X and 4 in the Y. I don't know. Let's see if that works. I don't know how exactly I'm going to test it, but I guess the way I could test it is get rid of the min size here and see what happens. It did not work. Oh, because if I don't have a player, then it's never going to get to this code. I might just put this into a different... Maybe I'll just put it in here. Update tab button. That seems like a good thing to do. There we go. So now they're just automatically sizing themselves based on what the assembled gun rect size is. I'm going to increase the X padding a little bit. That seems to work. And then I might even go a little bit higher in the Y as well. Perfect. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. So let's see how that looks actually in-game now. Oh, of course it didn't work. Wait a minute. Why is this not working? Something's wrong. There should be no... It should not be butting up against the top like that. Well, I guess the only way to test it is to... Oops. To go to my assembled gun rectangle here. And drop in some new stuff. Aw, did I break it? No, okay. This doesn't seem right to me. Huh, I think there's something wrong with this element. The key sniper barrel was not present in the dictionary. Does that matter? I don't think so. I should probably fix that, but there's something wrong with this. It's not setting the size appropriately. Update display. Oh, do I need to do force update here? Okay. Oh yeah, see, so it's not working properly. So you can see that the bounding box that's generated is not accounting for that. Now, why is that the case? To miss the development of that weapon? This is a sniper rifle. And so basically what it does is it shoots bullets that pierce enemies. So I introduced a new affix with it as well. The bullet that is shot will just go straight through every enemy it hits. Well, technically, the first 100 enemies that it hits in a row, it will go through. So it can't hit more than 100 enemies, but no one's going to encounter that limitation. So yeah, the sniper bullet has piercing, and that is an affix, so you can get that on other weapons as well. But the sniper comes pre-configured with it, so to speak. How do I go about drawing hands on weapons? Yeah, so the way that it works... So I've got the player hands here, which is essentially just two sprites, right? And what I have in the gun... Well, let's go to my sniper receiver, actually. So I've got two remote transform 2Ds. So remote transform 2Ds will take a node path, so this remote path down here, and will update that node with the transform of the remote transform 2D. And so basically I have the hand left position and hand right position, and those are just placed on the receiver. And then in code, I just attach the hands to these remote paths, and then that's it. Hands are attached to the weapons. It's very straightforward, so it's a nice little effect. But I have to figure out why this isn't working. So I'm calling get total texture size here. I do the get texture rect in each part. I take the position of the thing plus the sprite offset. Is that right? What happens if I get rid of this? No, that's not going to work, is it? It's going to screw everything up. Let's see. It did not screw up as badly as I thought it would. This is a pain in the rear as well. Trying to render 2D nodes in a control node in a manner that makes it stretch to the appropriate size so that it fits in with the flow of the UI better is just an absolute nightmare. You got a sniper as well. It has a low fire rate but piercing, so it can deal with crowds just fine if the enemies are lined up. Yeah, that's basically what this one does too. It's pretty archetypal sniper rifle, I think. Did you think about making a Discord to be able to send ideas and suggestions? I have been asked about that, yeah. Yeah, I just don't have the time between doing videos and between my day job and between working on the game. I just wouldn't have the time to interact with the Discord at the level that I think would be sort of expected. So yeah, maybe someday, but it's not something that I'm going to do in the near future. But if you want to, you know, if you all have Twitter or, you know, I post on a YouTube community, you can feel free to leave your comments there and interact there. I try to respond to a lot of comments, so we can do it sort of like asynchronously like that. If you just want to follow me at the various places, and you can always just send me your unsolicited feedback whenever you want on whatever post I make. It is greatly appreciated. Let's figure out why this is not working. What's my Twitter handle? It's just @Firebelly. Yeah, am I allowed to put links in the stream? Is it going to let me do my own? There you go. So the thing is, get total texture size. So it's calling get total texture size, and what this is doing is this is iterating over each part, getting the texture rectangle, which is just the position plus the sprite offset. Is that right? Position plus sprite offset. I believe so, and then the texture get size. I think this is not the problem. And then it's merging that with a larger rectangle and then returning the overall rectangle. So I wonder why. I wonder gd.print size. What happens when I click force update here? 42 and 15. Is that correct? That's not correct, right? It should be 18, or I guess 17 tall, and, well, it's not going to account for the outline. So it should be 42 wide and 15 tall. Oh, that is what it... Hold up. That is the size that it's getting. So why is this not working? I guess because I'm not setting this position correctly, huh? This position needs to be down 2 pixels. Ah, so my math was correct. The position is just wrong. Well, now how do I do the position calculation? Okay, well, we know the problem. It's not being positioned correctly. How am I positioning it here? All right, let's make sense of this whole long string of spaghetti. So, negative new vector 2 math floor size divided by 2 receiver sprite offset. Okay, I don't know what any of that means. I'm going to rewrite it. I'm not even going to try to make sense of that. Is it time to bring out paint and do some drawing? Are you heading out, buddy gaming? Or are you just saying see ya to this line of code? It's my math out of touch? No, it must be the position that is wrong. Yeah. So how am I going to do this? So this is the root. So this is the problem, right? This little dot right here, that is sort of the origin of the assembled gun. And so I need to take the size of it and then move this origin point inside of the rectangle such that it's centered. I guess what I could do is just get like the difference here, right? So get the difference between the origin and the top position of the rectangle and the origin between the bottom position. And then that should be the offset that I'm using, right? Let me just double check that. So so this is 6 pixels away from the origin to the top of the sprite. And so if I take that assembled gun and I say my position needs to be, I guess it would be half of that. Nope. Okay. Right. How in the world is it even positioning itself right now? It looks like the X direction is okay. So maybe I don't want to scrap this. Math.floor size minus receiver sprite offset. I don't know why that's there, but the X is fine, so I'm not going to change anything about the X. Receiver sprite. Is this... Maybe don't use the sprite offset. Oops. Something broke. I'm gonna have to actually spend the time breaking this down, I think. That's not right. Well, my poor geometry skills are showing here. Who knows how to stack rectangles? I mean, come on. It's unreasonable to expect me to know how to do this. I'm just trying to figure out how to reason about it. Like, if you've got this offset point, how do I position it in this larger rectangle such that it's properly, like, bounded? It's very obviously the Y position that's wrong here. I don't know why I'm using the sprite offset, though. Why would I be using the sprite offset? Oh, I see. So the offset is going to give me that -6 number. that I need. Right. I see why the offset is important. So let's just do it this way. This is going to be easier. So if I put the position at... Oh, and the center container is messing with it as well. What happens if I don't use a center container? And I say... That seems like it's more sensible, right? I don't need the center container because what I can do is just set the assembled gun position to the sprite offset, right? So I actually don't need to do any of this. I can just say assembled gun position is equal to receiver.sprite offset dot absolute. I think that works. Yep. All right. Done. No math required. I should probably be sure that this is actually going to work for all kinds of different things. So let's go ahead and put the banana in there as well. Yep, it appears to be working. Now, I'm using a shader for the outline, so that's why it's bleeding outside the edge. But I'm not going to worry about handling that. I mean, I guess I could. Now the question, here's a good question. Why is it larger than the barrel? Oh, because I have a minimum size set. Wait. Okay, that's concerning. I don't know if it's worth figuring out, but there's like a space here that shouldn't be here, right? This should be tightly sort of bound to that. I guess that's not a big deal. I mean, it'll be fine, I'm sure. I'm just worried that this is gonna... The thing that I'm mostly worried about is that there's something wrong with the math that is going to show itself later on, and I'm gonna have to go back into this assembled gun rect to do the calculations again, but... And I don't want to do that. I would rather solve it once and for all right now, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, so we'll just ignore it for now. It's going to be fine, yeah. Oh boy. So, yeah, that appears to be working for the most part. It's not updating immediately though. This is not working the way that I wanted it to. This is not working the way that I wanted it to. Oops. Strange resizing, yeah. Godot 4 Beta 6. Yes. Welcome, Saltic Hash. Nearly missed the stream. Well, you missed a good chunk of it, but yeah, welcome. Welcome, Light. Good to see you. There's still more. I'm gonna be streaming for a little bit longer yet, so we're good. What is going on? This is not working out the way that I wanted it to. I don't even know. Should I just make the tabs like a fixed size and just hope that none of the guns become larger than that? Oh, that's not good. Actually, yeah, what is going on? What is going on? This is what I'm talking about. Man, I'm not going to do UI on a stream again, I don't think. This is not entertaining at all. This is just me struggling with Godot's UI system. It's just a stream of me suffering. All right, I'm kind of just like done with this. I might just, instead of trying to be all fancy, I might just say, you know, my min size is going to be, you know, maybe 64 and then 32 or 28. And that's the guns. And if it doesn't fit in that tab, then we'll deal with that problem later. But I really don't want to be dealing with the sizing. And it's shifting the layout a lot, which I should have foreseen, but it's shifting the layout a lot, which is making it look super janky. So I think what I'll do is I'll just fix the size to a certain size and then say, you know, if the sniper fits in there, fine, then we'll just call it good. But I do want to change the size of this like someone suggested. Yeah, so they're jumping, so I can fix that. So watch this. So I can fix the layout shift by taking this gun explorer, and rather than telling it to shrink center, we'll just stick it to the top. And then I can add a top margin of 48 just to offset it down a little bit. And that should fix it. What UI elements am I working on? So yeah, doing this. So I did this last night, these passive selection screen. And then I'm working on this screen, which is where your guns are. Now, so the problem with, actually, you know what? I probably don't need to push it down that far. I'm worried about the passive list becoming too big. But now that I think about it, if this passive list becomes too big, I can just split it into a separate column because there's plenty of space here. So yeah, working on this. Add a custom size via script for each weapon. Yeah, I think I'm just going to try to use a fixed size. So yeah, so this is the updated screen basically. And we've got the tabs here. Probably will want to animate these tabs. What is the max amount of passives? There is no max amount. There will be a soft cap, meaning that, you know, I'm not going to enforce a cap on the amount of passives, but, you know, if each gun let's say if each gun is very unlikely to generate more than 3 passives per part, then you could say the max is going to be 9. But the other thing to consider too is that some passives can stack. And so you might have a bleed passive on a magazine and a bleed passive on a barrel. Those are going to combine together to apply 2 stacks instead of 1 stack on hit. And it will only be 1 line in your stat box here. How many passives do I have added? That's a great question. I think it's something like, so weapon passives, which I call affixes, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 weapon affixes implemented so far. And let's just take a look at the player passives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 player passives. 8 weapon passives and 9 player passives. I want to do some ridiculous amount, like My pie in the sky goal is 100 player passives and 100 weapon passives. That might be too much though, and I'm not just gonna add stuff just to get to that number. I'm gonna try to make all 100 of each of them unique to the point where they're actually game changing. If they're like very similar, if there's two very similar passives, then I'm not gonna do that. Right. Gun passes are for each gun, right? Yes. I don't know if I fully understand the question. A gun passive can be attached to a gun part, and any passive can be attached to any gun part. And then when you put the gun parts together into a gun, the gun gets all of the passives from all the parts, if that makes sense. All right, so I think this is working pretty well. Oh yeah, I was gonna make it shorter if it's dimmed. So let's go ahead and do that. Can I do this? So I'm going to subtract maybe 8 pixels in the width from the rect min size of the deselected tab. And I'm just going to store the default min size. Default button min size is equal to this. Not this. There we go. Cool, so let's see if that works. Oh, I didn't do everything I needed to yet. Left gun button dot rect min size equals default button min size. So we're just resetting the minimum size every time. And maybe eventually I'll animate the tabs, but I really don't feel like slaying that beast right now, animating some more UI components. I mean, I am going to animate this overall window, but we're going to make it functional first. So that appears to not have worked. Exactly what I wanted to see. Here's another tip. If you change the minimum size of the rectangle, then all you have to do is say, if you want to immediately update it, just say rect size equals vector2.0, and then it will override itself and update. At least I hope that's correct, because if I try that and it doesn't work, I'm going to look like a fool. All right, fool it. Oh no, look, see, it worked. It's just they're growing at the wrong... Interesting. Oh, it doesn't update until there's another UI event? Very strange. I don't know what's going on here. I'll figure it out. But let's fix this, these things shrinking the wrong way. So we're going to say the min size. I want it to shrink and there we go. Is that what I did? Yeah. Cool. I'll change this back. This, well, I actually don't need to run the whole game. I can just do this. Okay, so that seems to be working pretty well, actually. It's a little bit too accentuated. I'm just going to bump that down a little bit. Perfect. But now if I go into the game, it appears to be breaking a little bit. Oh no! 1 second here. I'm going to check something real quick about the spam. Bear with me for a second here. Okay, all good. Oh, this seems to be working now. That's interesting. Well, I think that looks all right. I think it looks fine. It dims out, it becomes a little bit shorter. Now, the thing is, are players going to recognize that these are clickable? That's the thing that I'm not so sure about. But I guess we'll try it like this and see what happens. All right, so let's make it functional now. So I'm going to commit that little bit of work to... I like to do this like when I finish a concrete chunk of work. I like to commit just because it makes me feel better about screwing everything up. Okay. Now we need to actually make these buttons work, this equip and reroll buttons. So we're going to make it shrink center in horizontal. I guess these should probably be in a VBox container together, right? I guess it doesn't matter, but that seems to be sort of the correct way to do it. There we go. We'll make these buttons a little bit differently sized. So our minimum size for this one, we'll make it maybe like 72 or 96. And then the reroll button can be... There we go. Some slow pulse animation to the buttons can make them look interactable. Yeah, that's a good idea. The thing is, though, with UI elements, especially in low, so UI elements, animating them generally is very difficult. But number two, I can't really be using pulse animations in that way because the pixel art will start to look really terrible. Like I can do quick like scale in and scale out and like as long as it's a really quick thing, but if it's happening in a pulse manner, it's just going to look really distorted and weird and ugly. And so I could use like a shift, like a movement, like it's bouncing in and out a little bit, right? And that's kind of what I did for a lot of things. But yeah, pulsing in terms of like scale isn't going to look great. Okay, so let's make these buttons work. So I think it should be pretty simple, actually. So let's grab the reroll button and the equip button. We'll put these back. We're going to need the gold button as well, because once you reroll, you're going to be able to get gold if you want. So my selected slot. Oh, is this right? I'm probably going to need to make this public, just because I don't have any signals coming from this. Oh my gosh. I was thinking you could use a separate section for passives with scrolling. I could do that. I'm kind of hoping that it will all fit on one screen, but yeah, I could do like a little scroll box right here on the side where you can see all the passives. I do have another screen, like let me show you. I have this screen, which will show you the player passives in a scrolling manner. This screen needs work too, but... So you can see, now you can see that I've got a passive here, and then these will just be a long scroll list, and then as well as your current guns. So... maybe some light VFX rays. Yeah, that could work. Yeah, for sure. So I'm just basically taking some of the stuff that I already had written and just reintroducing it. Put the reroll button there as well. Set remaining rerolls. So that's good. We're going to set the reroll button to visible only if the remaining rerolls is greater than 0. Otherwise, we're going to need a gold button. Oops. If I could spell. I think you could compress the information about the guns with less text and more icons to give more information to the player without having to take up so much space. The problem is the icons aren't very obvious what they do. So I tried doing that initially, but no one knows what that means. And it's like, even me as a player, I didn't know what the icons meant. I was like, what? And maybe it's because my icons are bad, but I figured if I have the space, which I do currently, I should just write out the stats. Can you see the gun stats? Yeah, sure, let's see. So here. So that's what they look like. I have icons. They're just like, what would a spread icon look like? And also that's not even, for some reason, it's not even being populated there. You know, ammo capacity, number of bullets. And I'm dealing with a very small canvas too. So it's not exactly clear to me how I could make any icons that are clearer than this. So I figure I have the space currently, so I'm just gonna write everything down. The trick is, like, this is, like, yeah, there's an ideal state that's better, but this is a 640 by 360 canvas, so I don't have much space at all. So icons would save space, but my personal opinion is that sacrifices readability. Like, I didn't know. I'm the developer of the game. I had no clue what stats were changing and which ones weren't. I tried adding tooltips, but then it was annoying to just have to, like, tooltip over every single stat to figure out what it was doing. You should add the icons on the guns on the side with the gun stats in the middle of the screen and the passives on the right. Passive, so the gun passives can be represented in tabs. Yeah, the thing is, like, then you would have to go to the tab to see, like, if you're previewing a gun part, you'd have to go to the tab to see what passives changed. I mean, there's still work to do. I'm going to be using this tab style elsewhere, like on this screen. Instead of having these two side by side, I'm going to replace that with the tab, this gun explorer. So it's just, I think there's definitely ways to shrink the information or to show less information at once. But the problem is that going to be a worse player experience because there's information that you need that you have to click to get, right? If there's information that you need that's being hidden, that's not going to be a great experience. The only problem is I think that a lot of this information is necessary to know. And so that means that a lot of it has to be on screen at once, which is presenting the problem that you are all identifying. So there's some more thinking to do, but it's a tricky problem. It's not that simple to fix. At least I've been having trouble with it for quite a while. Hello, Mr. Betamax. Welcome, welcome. I'm the best Godot teacher. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Yeah, I did try tooltips. Yeah, again, I think the problem was that I, as a player, felt like I needed to see everything, and so I just ended up hovering over all the stats all the time. And that was my decision of like why I said, well, let's just write everything out so it's there so you can see it. But I mean, hey, if you guys think it's not, if you think it's too messy, then I will spend some time revisiting it and think about it a little bit more. It's just hard to figure it out how to accomplish all the goals at once. Okay. Oh, right. I was doing a gold button here. So let's get the gold button built. The problem is, so I want to use an icon here, but that makes everything like really, really thick. I don't know about that. Actually, I guess, yeah, once the reroll button is done, oh, no. We'll just deal with it. We'll just deal with it as it is. Man, I'm so ready to be done with this UI. At least for a while. It's just not the most fun. I could be making passives and weapon affixes and all of that stuff right now, and it's just, nope. Got to do the UI, but it has to be done. And UI is very important, so there's no getting around it. I guess it just needs to represent main information that generally changes the gun. If it's just to improve some numbers, you can show it by green and red arrows. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. But I guess my concern there would be that, so some things like the number of bullets that you shoot at once, that's kind of a big deal, right? So if your gun is currently shooting only one bullet per shot, and then you get a gun part that upgrades it to 4 bullets per shot, if that's only represented with an arrow, I don't know whether it's just going to 2 bullets or if it's going to 4, and that can make a big difference depending on what my build is, right? Because I might say, well, I don't really want to take the 2 bullet upgrade, but the 4 bullet upgrade. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if obscuring that information in all cases behind like a tooltip is going to be ideal. But possible. I mean, it's possible. Like I said, I'll do some thinking about it and see what happens, but I just don't have any great ideas at the moment of how to streamline this. I mean, my UX friend said in this screen, basically only show the stats of the weapon part that you're equipping. And that might be okay, right? I don't know. Forgive me if any of you have suggested that already, but yeah, if I'm equipping a magazine, only show like the stats that are changing, which I think is kind of what you're getting at, Prology. Is just only show the stats that are changing, and then potentially even there hide the numbers. Remaining greater than 0. I think my concern with, yeah, so that is a smart idea. I think my concern with that, though, is just like, I could see a situation in which I would want to see the larger context of my gun. So if I'm only showing the magazine, for instance, what do I show for like the bullet affixes? Do I show, or the weapon affixes? Do I show all of the affixes with the magazine, or just the affixes that have changed? Because the thing that I'm thinking as a player is like, I want to be able to see all of the affixes of my gun currently, so I can judge how a new affix that's coming in fits with my build, or doesn't fit with my build. And so maybe there's like a hybrid here of like only showing the new weapon part stats that are coming in, but then also showing like all of the stats of your gun. But then if you do that, then it's confusing. Like, wait, are all these stats coming from the magazine, or are they coming from the gun? Hello, Hot Chocolate. Welcome back. I guess the spread shot is additional skill to gun, not really primary. Well, the spread shot is not an additional skill, though. It's just a stat. It's a stat that can be on any part, or not any part, on the barrel part. All right, I think this is this working now? Let's see if it works. I'll think about it some more. There's definitely room for improvement. Okay, so if I reroll, ugh, something went wrong here. Why did that break? Oh, right, because I actually need to reference this as an outline label. There we go. Wait, does that mean... Okay, sorry, let's go back in. Just had to fix some things. One more improvement. Yeah, hit me with it. Okay, so this seems to be working. So let's see. See, I go total capacity from 3 to 4 range. So I'm going to equip this. Actually, let's put it on a different gun so I can actually see. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it appears to be working, that UI now. Still some more work to do, but I think it's working okay. Haha, a shotgun with a sniper barrel. Let's go. Banana. Let's re-roll it. Lines for stats should be slightly different color. I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. Lines for stats. Are you talking about like the text or like alternating it like a table? Like the chessboard. Okay, so yeah, like a typical data table. Could probably do that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Welcome, Giles or Giles. I don't know how to say that. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Wow, that's got quite a bit of spread. All right, I think the UI is working. Come on, give me a new magazine. Oh, a spider centaur. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to commit this, and then I'm going to play a little bit of the game for you all. I've got a couple more things that I want to do with this UI, which I will finish, but since it's working, I'm going to commit it, play the game for a bit, and then finish up what I want to finish up. What an adventure. Wow, that was quite a lot of work. Second one. I think the second one I said was Giles, right? Nice UI flow, really like it. Thanks, appreciate it. Okay, before I play the game, I have to turn off my debug mode. Dungeon Arena Manager. All right, now I can play the game for real. So, for anyone that's new here, I think many of you are familiar with the game by now, but so this game is a wave-based roguelite shooter where you collect game-changing passive abilities and construct your guns out of different parts, which can also have passives. So here's my passive selection screen that happens at the end of each wave. These are all permanent upgrades that I get for the run. So I'm going to take, for instance, quickness, just increase my movement speed here. So that's a passive that I have now. And then I also get the opportunity to change my weapon parts. So you can see that when I click on the sniper up here, it's changing to the bone receiver and also getting some new stats. But I don't like any of these stats, so I'm going to re-roll the part. So I got a banana magazine now. That spread is broken. I got to fix that. So banana magazine, I'm going to re-roll again. Okay, there we go. So we got the sniper magazine on the shotgun, bullets pierce through enemies, and the fire rate increases as magazine depletes. So I'm going to equip that. And so now I've got 2 piercing guns. Is the pixelation effect just a result of viewport display setting? It is, yes. It's a 640 by 360 canvas with the display mode set to viewport. So I just completed another wave. Oh yeah, be the fuse. Create an explosion when the magazine becomes empty. We're gonna take that one. All right, so shotgun barrel. Fire rate, I'm gonna reroll. Bone barrel, reroll. Crystal magazine, here we go. I'm gonna put it on this one so I can, well actually no, I'm gonna take the gold because I've got low magazine capacity and I've also got this explosion passive. so I can actually just like be a bomb. So yeah, I'm trying to create passives that actually change the playstyle. So I've intentionally kept really low magazine count on my guns. And now I'm running into enemies and emptying my magazine so that I can explode and kill them. Ooh, I just took damage. Hello, Felipe. Second time here, I am seeing some hard-coded text and code. Isn't that a problem later for publishing it? Only if you want to support languages that aren't English, which I have no plans to do at the current moment. I will, if I change that, it will probably change, but it's too much effort at the moment to set up the sort of what needs to be set up to get rid of those magic strings. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to localize it, at least not right now. If I do decide to do that, then yeah, there will be some work that I need to do. Is this 2.5D or pure 2D? Hello, Harami. It is pure 2D. And I'm adding some like shadows and stuff to make it look like it has some depth, but yeah, it's just pure 2D. Let's clear all bullets on dash. Okay, so I don't think any of these parts are particularly great, so let's just take the gold. Ooh, what's this we got going on here? All right, let's take the elevator. What you think? What do we have here? We've got a little shop, and I have 41 gold. This shop UI needs work too, so don't go too hard on me. And these buttons are now screwed up. That's all right. So the thing about the shop is that every single part in here is guaranteed to generate 2 affixes or more, I think. Yeah, 2 or more affixes. So let's see what we got. Bone magazine. Ooh, this one has a bleed. Should I put that one on? I'm kind of curious to see what happens if I put that on the sniper. So let's put it on there. And let's buy some health. And what else? How much money do I have left? 16. Add 1 poison. Ooh, it can do poison stack too. Look at this. So if I put this banana receiver on, I get poison, I get bleed, I get bullets track to the nearest enemy to the crosshair, and bullets pierce. Which I'm thinking now that interaction is not going to be great. The bullet tracking and the bullet piercing, but let's try it. All right, so I've got a banana receiver with a bone magazine and a sniper barrel. Let's go. I don't see I'm adding shadows through just a sprite. Okay, yeah, that bullet tracking needs to be fixed. Because it's just going to the same enemy every time. Lots of work to do still. Don't see balance anywhere in the shop. I think that's a joke, right? Or is there some actual, like, something wrong there? I should be seeing spider centaurs. So there's a lot of balancing to do with the game still. I think it's a tad too easy, so I still have to work on that, but it's fun. Yes, I do have that planned, Eggsy. Yeah, extra bonuses for the gun. If they're the same. I actually was going to make the shop sell entire gun kits as well. So as well as selling individual parts, making the shop actually sell like, hey, here's an actual sniper rifle fully configured for you, ready to go. You can equip it all at once. And you get whatever bonuses you get when you have weapons that are all of the same part. Bullet tracking and bullet pierce is usually super strong in most games. Yeah, so I think that's okay, because this is a roguelite, and I want players to have that round every once in a while that makes them feel absolutely OP. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some affixes more rare than others. Right now, all of the affixes have the same weights in the loot table, so they're all equally likely to be chosen. But I'm going to make the stronger ones, like bullet tracking, probably less likely to drop. And so it's just by playing with the numbers, it should be kind of unlikely to get both of them in the same gun. But if you do, it's fine because it won't happen very often and it'll be a fun run for the player, right? Hello, Kaiser Lord. Does that mean Cheese Lord? Most important things for game juice, asks David. Most important things are screen shake, particles, and, well, screen shake, particles, sound effects, and animations. So squash and stretch is really important for UI and for in-game elements. Sound effects need to be really crunchy and satisfying. Screen shake adds a lot to the game. And what was the other one I said? Particles, yeah. Add particles. Particles are really useful for this. They're really useful for hiding the jank in your game. So like if you need to delete something from the game world, just like doing like a particle poof makes it look better and hides the fact that it's just disappearing out of existence. So that would be my suggestion. I meant that I can't see your current money balance when the shop... Oh, yeah. I do know about that. That shop UI will be overhauled as well. I joined a game jam with randoms. Now everyone is bummed out and the project is just on a hiatus. I am just trying to make a simple game loop with stick figure as art. Guy quit. That's unfortunate. This is one of the reasons why I almost always work solo or with a close friend, because I think that that's probably very common that people just give up, which is unfair to the people that want to continue with it. But I think if you want to finish a game jam, you're better off just doing it by yourself anyway, unless you're working with somebody that you know is going to stick through it, right? Imagine getting pierce tracking and split. Yeah, that'd be dope. When creating power-ups, how do you handle the different types such as bleed on bullet collision versus the constant tracking? Howdy, Lucas. So let me answer that question. I think we've probably seen enough gameplay. Let me do another round and then I'll answer that question. Ooh, that looks good. Oh, another shop? And there's no way to continue with the game even if you want to skip the shop, so I have to go in and then come back. There's a lot of jank here. Oh, it's boss time. Sorry, I'll answer your question about handling the different power-up types after this boss. So yeah, I think for the bullet tracking, what I need to do is probably just make it ignore the enemy that it hits so that it can continue on. Ooh, imaginary friend. This is my favorite one. So yeah, I've got my own little sidekick gun now. There's the spider centaur. Oh, wow, I lost. Holy moly. I thought I was OP. I was just kind of taking it easy and then I died. Okay, well, that's how it goes. Okay, so real quick. Will I host a game jam? I want to when I have a larger channel, because if I hosted one right now, it would probably get like 20 entries, which is, respectable, but I would love to get somewhere over 100 entries before I would do it. Okay, so when creating power-ups, how do you handle the different types such as bleed on bullet collision versus the constant tracking? So that's a very good question, and here's how I do it. So the gun part affix looks like this. It's an abstract class which has a bunch of different events. Virtual, on-terrain collision, on-player pre-fire, all this stuff, right? And the way that I implement an affix, so for instance, the bleed affix, is I just override the function for the event that I want to listen to. So this one is on entity collision. And then this handler arguments comes through, which has the entity that collided with as well as the bullet. And then all I do is I just essentially say I want the bleed status, so apply the bleed status to the entity status receiver component. So basically, it's just sort of a generic, I can call these functions. Now, where do these functions get called? In here, I have an auto load singleton. I believe this is auto load, maybe it's not. Gun affix manager. And what this does is this listens for game events. So I should back up and say that these things that you saw, so player bullet creation, entity collision, bullet entity hit, these are all global game events. So there's a game event singleton here that has a bunch of functions to emit different events. So for instance, player pre-fire, if I look where that is, when I am shooting a gun from the player gun manager, it emits this game event, emit player pre-fire, with the arguments or the sort of the object that I need, right? And then that goes into the game events. It gets emitted from the game events auto load, which is listened to by the gun affix manager. And, And so that is just basically handling the events now. So the gun affix manager is listening to those global game events. And then it's just calling this handle affixes, and these affixes are the class that I just showed here. And so it just loops through all the affixes and calls the relevant handler function, which will be one of these functions. So as far as entity tracking, that's a different thing. So I have this enemy tracking travel definition. So I created another class called bullet travel definition. And essentially what this is an abstract class that provides an apply travel update function that will take all of the current parameters of the bullet and how it's moving and apply a transformation to it. So in here, when this is called, it essentially calculates a new velocity, a steering direction, and then it returns the calculated result based on the enemy tracking that it should be applying. And this is generic, so that way in the bullet, so in my bullet component, every frame, I just iterate over the bullet travel definitions that are associated with this bullet and apply the travel update to my velocities. So that's how I can have multiple travel definitions interacting together. As far as how this travel definition gets applied by an affix, so it's implemented as an affix like normal, but the onBullet created event, all it does is instance a node, the enemy tracking travel definition, and adds it to that the bullet that's created. So it's literally adding this tracking definition node onto the bullet every time the bullet is created. That's what the affix does. And then when the bullet is doing its process method, it can detect those bullet travel definitions that it has associated with it and apply all those updates. Okay, that was long-winded, but does that make sense? That's sort of just like an overview of the architecture. When should you add screen shake? When somebody dies? Yes. When you dash? Yes. Do you have a rule of thumb? Anything that's impactful. So I wouldn't make, and you can control the amplitude of the screen shake or the severity of the screen shake. So if you die, I would add like a big screen shake. But if you're like dashing, maybe you just make it really subtle so that there's a little bit of feedback there when you're dashing, but it's not as strong. In my game, I add a little bit of screen shake, like a very slight amount of screen shake when you're shooting bullets, just to give them a little bit more oomph. I would say just add it for various events and see how it feels. If you don't like how the screen shake feels for a certain type of event in your game, then you can remove it. It's very easy to experiment with, but generally speaking, when impactful things happen, you should add some screen shake. When do you use the auto load tab in project settings? I saw someone set their HUD created to it, but then it kind of overlays on every scene. Yeah, for sure, Prology. Thanks for sticking around and watching. And I look forward to seeing you in a future stream. So have a good day. I use auto loads. It's a hard decision. So any data that I'm always going to need. So my auto loads in here currently are a screen transition manager, which I need everywhere throughout the game. So it's an auto load. A debug registry, which is just some tools that I need to be able to debug the game. Some utilities, like a floating text manager. So all that text, those numbers that you see fly up when I'm shooting things, that's all handled by this auto load. Basically, anything that's going to exist in your game that's going to be needed by a lot of things. Also for global events. So the game events is an auto load. So I can listen to anything that happens in the game from any scene. You just kind of have to make a good judgment. I go the opposite way with UI though. I don't make UI auto loads. I like to make UI self-contained scenes that I can sort of just do whatever I need to do with at runtime. Okay, so there's one more thing that I want to do here real quick. And that is I want to make this background the same as this one. And make it fade in. Now the problem is I think that this is going to be a little bit weird. Actually, I'm going to merge from scene. Is this just, do I just get this for free? Cool. So let's see how that looks. I just added a backdrop here. Are you using C# and Godot? If so, why are you using Godot over Unity? Yes, I am using C#. The reason I'm using Godot over Unity is because I just like Godot better. I think Godot is a better 2D engine for sure. I like the fact that it's lightweight, that it's free. But I do genuinely think that Godot is like the best 2D engine that you can get right now, either free or paid. I like it better than GameMaker Studio. I like it better than Unity. I like it better than Construct. It's just, to me, it's like the right mix of like power, but also ease of use. Like Godot can do so many things, but the majority of the things that you need to do are already prepackaged for you as nice nodes, right? So that's what I like about it a lot. It's like got that perfect balance. And the dedicated 2D engine is really a plus too. Like all the units are in pixels and everything. So it's just really nice. Let's see. I wish I had the motivation you have to work on a project. It's not a matter of motivation. It's a matter of discipline. Even when you don't feel like working on it, you have to work on it. And then once you do that enough, you will develop a habit. You'll develop a habit to the point where you will feel bad for not working on it, even if you don't really want to work on it, if that makes sense. So do affixes listen to all the game events and ignore everything but the one you override? Yeah, so it's not exactly an ignoring. It's just that these are all virtual functions, which don't by default have any definition, right? So these are actually always called for every affix. So in theory, I could write an affix that implements a definition or a method body for multiple events if I wanted to make it multifunctional. But yeah, I mean, all of these are always called on every affix. It's just a matter of like, if the affix doesn't have that defined, then nothing happens, right? It's always the first steps that are difficult. 2D is quite simplified in Godot, but 2.5D. Yeah, I have tried 3D in Godot before, and it was not a great experience. I would say probably go to Unity if you want to do 3D. It's getting better, and I don't mean to knock Godot because I absolutely love the engine, and I work in it exclusively, but if I wanted to build like a serious 3D project that I was going to sell on Steam, I would probably still use Unity or Unreal. just because those engines are much more built for that purpose. But I'm hoping that will change with Godot 4. I want to do some more 3D experimentation in Godot 4 and see what that experience is like. And yeah, but I only do 2D development though, so I don't know if my opinion matters that much with regards to 3D. 2D is just easier to do as a solo developer. Faster. It's faster and it still takes an ungodly amount of time. Oh yeah, I was gonna see. I'm gonna see if this backdrop works. Oh, Godot crashed. Very cool. All right, let's see if that backdrop works. Cool. I think that looks nice. Gives it a little bit more focus. I'm gonna work on the animations though, because it's not super good. But yeah. The problem I have with control nodes is that you have to cast them through the viewport for health bars to attach to character. I'm not sure I understand exactly what you mean. Are you talking about like on the UI, so you have to put them in a canvas layer? Or are you talking about 3D? Hello, Lucas we got two Lucases in the chat. Lucas Brentano, any tips for creating UI? I wish I had some, no, but I actually needed to consult with my UX designer friend to get my UI in shape. So I wish I could tell you specifics on how to do it well, but I'm honestly figuring that out myself. So I don't want to give you bad advice. What's up, Peach Dev? Unfortunately, I think you're catching me on the tail end of the stream here. I think it was another, what, 3-hour stream? Is that right? Yeah, just about a 3-hour stream. Progress bar. Oh, I see. Yeah, you do have to use a canvas layer so that it stays on the screen, like where you position it. Good job on the game, looking good. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Cool. All right. Any other questions while I'm here? I think I'm going to basically be done with game development for now on the stream. Gonna go grab some lunch and some water and chill for a bit. I've been working all morning. I actually was doing about 2 hours of work before I started streaming. So I've been at it for like 5 hours this morning. Trying to mess around with UI lately, finding a bit tricky. Yeah, you might have some luck just looking up like front-end UI design tutorials and just transferring those lessons over to game UI, because it's still a matter of UX, right? Like you still want to make sure that you are laying things out in a hierarchical way that players can easily parse and know what's going on. And that's entirely what like front-end, UX development is about. So you might have a good luck just sort of looking at UI, like website UI generally, and see if you can find any resources on that. Cool. All right. If there are no other questions, then I want to thank you all for joining the stream. It was a lot of fun. Got a lot done. The UI is a little bit rough, but we're getting it done. And if you're interested, you could sign up for my newsletter at firebelly.com. And basically, I just send updates when I have new videos or when I'm streaming. So if you want a central place where you can get notified of what I'm doing, sign up for the newsletter here, firebelly.com. And all my social links are there as well, so you can find my Twitter and itch.io and Steam and all that stuff. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Harami, and thank you everyone else for joining. It was fun, and I will see you in the next devlog or in the next live stream, whichever one comes first. All right, bye everyone.